So hi, I'm Anna Loza, and I'm here with Robin Hilton, and just really looking forward to this conversation. Hi, Robin.
Hi.
So tell me where you're at, what you're up to, what's happening.
Oh, where to begin? I am, oh gosh, it's been like a super crazy year. So about a year, 2 years ago, I discovered a teacher by the name of Layla Martin. And I started practicing tantric practices, jade practices. And at the time, I was actually experiencing mega burnout. My life was like, oh, I just hate everything about it. And I started to feel this energy from my life. And I was like, I need to do more with this. And so I took her training program. Uh, and that was a year-long training program. So that's actually really what's led me to this point. I'm a yoga teacher. I'm an integrated sex coach. I'm a desire map facilitator. And right now I'm in this like expansive period of really connecting into, what is it that I do? How do I serve? Who do I serve? And just building this amazing business that's really rooted in the calling of my soul.
Oh my gosh, you have so many juicy things going on.
I know, there's
I
lots. It feels
so tell me, are you wearing a jade egg right now?
I am not wearing a jade egg. It's like it might be in the room with me somewhere, but I don't have it in right now.
Awesome. So a year ago you discovered all of this? Is that what you're
I
saying, or like
discovered
in the
it.
last?
It was 2 years
Okay.
ago that I was in the midst of like mega burnout. I'd been teaching yoga for about, I think it was about 7, 8 years at that point, and was in the middle of leading a 200-hour teacher training program and hit a freaking wall where I was like, I don't want to teach another yoga class. I don't know why anyone would want to teach yoga. I am not getting through to the students in the way that I really desire to get through to people. I just felt like I was stuck. And I went to a retreat, a Tantra retreat, and I was like, well, this is actually pretty cool. And I happened to be looking on Facebook and discovered Layla that evening, at the evening of the retreat, and it was just everything aligned. And that actually, it was the sexual practices that brought me out of my burnout and into a newfound passion for teaching. And so, yeah, it's been 2 years of deep soul searching and exploration, and it's funny because I'd say it was about 2 months ago, I felt like I just woke up, like just suddenly, like everything got brighter, the world got brighter, everything woke up, and I was like, okay, now I'm ready to serve. So
Mm-hmm. So wait, so I'm so curious, when you hit that wall in that teacher training, what did you do? Did you call it off? Did you continue? What happened?
no, I kept leading it.
Okay.
It was I was really able to, because we were only meeting, once a month. It was really, I hit the wall and I was like, okay, I got to do something about this. My partner actually had been to a retreat. He had gone to a retreat with the same woman. He's like, you need to go to this because this is what's going to help you get through this, like whatever it is, this like kind of come to Jesus, like with my teaching moment. And so I kept teaching, and it was really interesting. It was that even the students in the training noticed like a palpable shift when I started working with the jade egg and started working with Tantra. They were like, something transformed and everything came alive in your teaching. And so the rest of the training was actually incredibly magical because it was fueled by a different type of energy than sort of that kind of like, well, we're just going to drudge through this stuff and we'll get there. And it was, everyone had, in the end, a completely magical, transformative experience, including myself. It was the first teacher training program I had led, and it was amazing in the end. So
That's fantastic. Let's get more specific about your sexuality practices and
yeah.
yeah, like share something with us here. I mean, I have my own jade practice and I love
Mm-hmm.
Layla Martin, also another couple teachers that I follow and integrate. And there's so much to say here. So
Mm-hmm.
walk us
Mm-hmm.
through something like what specific practices, one or two that made that palpable shift that your students noticed.
For me, it was because the Jade Pleasure Program, Layla's Jade Pleasure Program, is, you know, it's very simple in its nature. And I think that was a huge part of it, was that I was just living a really almost like an overcomplicated life. Like everything was so busy. I was doing so much. I was creating so much. I was always on the go. And it was like, this isn't the life that I actually dreamt I would be having as a yoga teacher. I thought it would be relaxed and mellow. And I'm sitting in, I have a studio space. So I'm sitting in my studio space. So I just, I have the space. I thought everything would be magical. And what really, I think, attracted me, or that really shifted things for me, was that simplicity of just connecting into my own sexual energy and connecting into my body. So really it was like the most foundational, like simple practice, which was just doing ovary breathing and womb breathing. That was it. Like not even anything big, but just like connecting into my body, recognizing that I have a renewable source of energy always available to me, and then utilizing that to fuel my passion was, I mean, it's so simple, but it was so profound.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Could you lead us through like 1 minute of ovary breathing or womb breathing right now for those people
watching? Yeah, I would love to. Cool. Mm-hmm. All right. So you can just close your eyes and just take a moment to connect into your body. We're actually going to just start with the kidneys. So just connecting into the energy of your kidneys and just feeling this energy as a oceanic blue liquid energy, full of life force energy, full of vitality. And so as you inhale into the kidney space and feel your kidneys expand with this energy. And then as you exhale, feel this energy compress, compact into the kidneys. And again, a nice deep breath in, expanding the kidney energy, and then exhale, feeling it compact in. And just one more breath like that. Inhale into your kidneys. Exhale, feeling the creativity, the vitality, the life force energy, concentrating. This time as you inhale, expand the energy in your kidneys, and as you exhale, allow that energy to now travel to your ovaries, or the energy of your ovaries. And again, nice deep breath in, and exhale. Allow the energy to flow into your ovaries. One more deep breath into the kidneys, expanding. And exhale, moving into the ovaries, feeling the energy now in the space of your ovaries. Inhale, expanding into the energy of your ovaries. And exhale, feeling that energy now travel into the womb space, or the energy of your womb. And again, another nice deep full breath into the womb space. And exhale, feeling that energy compress in. And one more deep inhale into the womb space. And exhale, feeling that energy compress in. On your next inhale, send the energy from the womb space down to the perineum. And as you exhale, feel the energy travel up your spine into your brain, and just allow that creativity, life force energy to cycle through your brain. And touching your tongue to the roof of your mouth, take a deep breath in. And then exhale, allow the energy to flow down the front of your body back into your womb space. And just breathing normally for a few breaths and just feeling this energy continue to cycle from the energy of your womb up the back of your body and then down the front of your body at its own pace. And then just taking a moment for integration. Just noticing how you feel. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you so much, Robin.
You're welcome.
Yeah, when I do that, I feel, just to perceive the connection that is always there between all those organs, the microcosmic orbit, just how, like you're talking about the busyness, we could just forget about this magic that is so available in our bodies at any moment. And a practice that is simple like this, that, it took us just a couple minutes and we're back and we're connected and we're creative and we're enlivened.
Yeah. It's so simple. Yeah, it's so powerful in that simplicity. And, it's, when I teach yoga, I always remind my students that the most powerfully transformative aspect of their practice is their capacity to connect to a conscious breath and to, in some way, notice how they're breathing and then change that, deepen it, or be more aware of it. And that is really the transformation that some of the most profound transformation that they can get through practice. So.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Are you incorporating these kind of exercises into the yoga classes?
Yeah. So, and that was like another really big piece, right? Because a lot of yoga practitioners are very casually committed to practice, yet they want the deep transformation that they see or that they know is available through yoga. But because yoga in the West is primarily body work, right? We're just doing postures and moving our bodies. And it's, the rare teacher that will add a lot of breath work or a lot of meditation into the practice. And it's the rare student who will go to a class that is, got equal parts movement, breath, and meditation to have that, that holistic experience. And so what I was seeing in my students was that they're very casually committed to a practice, but they wanted transformation. And I couldn't give it to them in the, in the container that we had. And that was a huge part of my frustration, was like, I really want to help these people transform. So part of becoming a coach and part of learning these things was that I wanted to offer something deeper. And the beautiful thing is that my teaching has changed in the way that, I offer different types of breath work. I understand that the practice that they're doing on the mat can be more profound if I just allow the magic that I've learned to flow through me when I teach. And so, I feel like I'm actually able to offer really transformative experiences in, the space of an hour in a yoga class, just because I've managed to just simplify and to really connect into what really is the true power of practice.
Amazing. That sounds like a really unique combination. Are you finding that you're kind of busting through boundaries and your offering is very unique? Because that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, it's, I think I have a really great capacity to distill information in a really digestible way for your average person. So even though I'm teaching essentially sexual practices in a yoga class, no one has any idea. No one knows that what I'm teaching them are things that I learned through my own sexual practice. So I teach a foundation, when I teach a yoga class, I teach essentially what is the foundation of holistic sex. So I teach students that, they need to have these experiences in all areas of their life, including their practice. They need to be connected to their breath. They need to be connected to movement of energy through their body. They need to notice sensations. They need to be able to breath, sound, movement, to relax, and then they need to be able to observe. And so if they can actually acquire those skills on the mat, and then they apply them, say, randomly in the bedroom, or they apply them, when they're walking down the street or at their work or whatever it is, like if they do these things in their lives, it's going to enhance so much of their life, and they just practice it on the mat. So it's normal yoga. There's nothing unusual about it. It's just that I'm teaching it in a holistic way, intentionally trying to teach skills that are going to enhance all areas of my students' lives. So it feels like I teach a super gentle practice. There's nothing, there's nothing really difficult in what I convey to my students, but I have them just so focused in on what is happening through the whole practice that just, it carries forward. They just have this amazing transformation through practice. So
yeah, fantastic. It sounds like just really emphasizing and cultivating white tantra, so like the practices of breathing and energy cultivation, which is the foundation for the sexual practices. And yeah, and just really taking the emphasis off the doing and putting it onto the inner cultivation of energy and expansion and awareness. And yeah, like walking down the street and being completely aware and even ecstatically aware of the experience of walking and being. And yeah, taking that into the bedroom, because that's another beautiful place to apply it. And it enhances our life in all these ways.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Is that, and I try and convey that. I say, like, you don't come here for an hour a week just to escape your life. You come here for an hour a week to learn how to live your life. And I make sure that I say that again and again. Like, this isn't, when you set an intention in your yoga class, it's not for that hour. That intention is meant to carry forward with you off the mat. And that's like, I feel sometimes like a record on repeat, but I feel so strongly about making that connection for my students that, that's really, to me, that is reignited my passion for teaching yoga.
And that's so beautiful. That you've rediscovered this like diamond core of what it is that, just helps you transmit this to your students. What kind of like feedback have you been receiving? Have people been letting you know if they're applying it or what they're feeling about it?
That's a good question. My dedicated students are always super fans. So they anything I do, everything that I do, they're really happy, and they are always keen to offer feedback. And actually, what I've experienced is, because in this small community where I have the studio, I live actually in a small town, and I've stopped teaching classes here, and it's not so much that it wasn't being received. I just didn't have a passion for teaching in this space anymore. I wanted to be more expansive in my teaching. So I'm just starting to teach more classes in the city. And what's really interesting, because I live about an hour away from a city, and so I've started teaching more to larger groups. And what I've noticed is that as my passion for teaching and as my why in my teaching increases, my classes just are growing. So this session, I just started a new session, and it's double what the last session was. And that's just from me being like, okay, I don't have to teach yoga from a place of following, maybe how I learned how to teach yoga. I can actually apply how I see the world and live, and, what I've learned as a coach into my teaching. And I guess that's really connecting. When people are connecting with that, they like that experience. So
I love that. Like they're connecting with the juiciness that you're bringing and the perspective that you have, and fantastic. There's just so much.
I know,
So,
yes.
well, I mean, I just love I know, so it's kind of like a renaissance of jade egg practices right now. So, I mean, can you just speak a little bit about your practice, or like some favorite approaches to it? Like, do you only have a jade egg? Do you have several kind of stone? Like, what's up?
Yeah, I'm a traditionalist. I just love the nephrite jade. I'm a big fan of just a medium, drilled egg, nothing fancy. And right now, I'm actually just working through a series of practices. So I started doing work with just a basic pleasure practice, which really awakened my body in a new way. So I practice for about an hour most days. So it's a pretty intense practice with a lot of energy moving, and then deep practices. This week I'm working a lot on, I put it off for a really long time, but the weightlifting practice, I was like, I don't know if I really want to do this. I don't know if I need to be lifting weights with my pussy, but I actually started it was funny, the things you have the most resistance to end up being the things that are like quite powerfully transformative. It's like your soul knows, like, okay, you got to be ready for this when you do it, because it's going to go deep. But what I found is like coinciding with starting the weightlifting practice and really connecting into my inner source of power was actually a deeper connection to my message and a deeper connection to my why and my purpose. So I'm loving the weightlifting now, which I never thought I would say. I thought I would hate it. And I'm not good at it. I find it incredibly difficult. Even though I'm a yoga practitioner, my awareness of my pelvic floor was wasn't as intelligent as I thought it was. And so to actually have this opportunity, it feels like yoga. Like I feel like I'm connecting to parts of my body that I just didn't have a sensitivity. It's like, oh, that is what it feels like to lift your pelvic floor. And just to start to develop that awareness, it's like a new relationship with my body. It's like I'm doing yoga for the first time, really. So I'm loving that. Right now, that's really the bulk of my practice, is just doing the power practices. I love also just like a good, simple, wearing it and just feeling it and being present with the egg inside of me, and just laying and meditating, or being, just being conscious of sensation and conscious of my body. Yeah. It's, I flow through practices. Like sometimes I ditch the egg for a couple months and just do other styles of practice. I love a lot of the energy work with the jade egg practice. So like the microcosmic orbit, very similar to this, that we worked on. Breast massage is a huge piece for me. I found that to be a really transformative practice in terms of like healing my heart and healing my self-image and my body image. And sex magic is always one that I like to do with the jade egg. So moving energy through my body with a specific visualization in mind.
Yeah. The more I live on this plane, and the more I learn about all these fun things that we can have experiences of, the more it really seems to me that the body is just, that we're here to learn about living in the body. We're here to learn about just being with it. What can happen if I do this or that, or put my attention here? And then it's beautiful to do it in a committed kind of way like this, of like, yeah, I have a practice and I give this an hour a day or 20 minutes or whatever it is that someone can give it, in a consistent day by day kind of way. And that has, doing it like that for me has unlocked transformations. And it's just, the body holds so much wisdom. It's so incredible to get to know it. And I see a sort of a cultural renaissance around this. That said, there's such a kind of we're such a mental culture, especially in sort of like the developed Western kind of corporate perspective, that is just all up here. And as soon as we bring our consciousness down and start, ovary breathing, microcosmic orbit, is working with a jade egg, and like putting our fingers inside our vagina in a place that we're told never to touch and never to look at and never to do anything with, just a rush of wisdom, a rush of power reclamation, like you're talking about. It's amazing.
And it's funny, something that Layla has said to us many times over, and I absolutely 100% believe is true, is that, the sexual practices, the jade egg practice is going to be the new yoga. It's going to be the way that people start to see their capacity for profound embodiment. Like, this is, yoga, I think it so easily fit into a culture where we're stuck in our heads, right? Like, it's so easily, and it I think to some degree brought many of us into our bodies, but it wasn't enough. Like I said, so many people focused on just the physical practice, and although that does bring people into their bodies, there's that element of like achievement and doing, and not simply just being or residing, in the human form. And so I see these sexual practices, and like you say, this renaissance of sexual practices that we're experiencing now as the true awakening into the body. And I think as people start to realize, when they start to do this work, and when they start to feel the impact of this work on their bodies and then their lives, it's going to, I think, really spread like wildfire, right? Because we're just going to really, it's like, I can only describe it from my perspective, but when I look outside, so I'm looking outside, I have a window right there, but when I look outside, I see colors more brightly. I hear sounds more acutely. I feel that I am not separate from the tree that I'm looking at. Like, I can sense the connection that I have. And that is not something that I really truly understood until I felt that inside of me. And absolutely 100% it was due to sexual practices that awakened my body to that possibility.
What's your partner's relationship to your practices and to your cultivation of this?
Good question. It's been a real journey. He is thankfully like super open and has his own practice too. So it's, but that being said, when you do work like this, it does bring into the light your core wounds. Like, it brings into the light the things that are, I guess, that are really causing you to be out of alignment, or causing you to be unaware of your wholeness or your true nature. And when those things come up, it's painful. So of course, like, as much as this has been a really healing journey for us together, it's also been a really challenging journey, because we're both being like triggered into healing. And when you're trying to navigate that with a partner, and we have kids as well, when we're trying to navigate, actually having a life, and, we can't just go off to a cave and like meditate and do this and heal. And, we've got to live in the world. And so, yeah, I would say it's not been an easy journey, but it's been a journey that I would absolutely do again and again and again, because I think the depth of our connection only grows as we move through each layer of our conditioning and our habits and patterns of wounding.
For sure. And that's such a key thing that you said, we can't go off into a cave. So like that may have been this thing to reach for previously. And I feel like now the most challenging and the most integrous healing journey is to do it here with the bills and the family and the kids and the partnership, and to be in this world, maybe not of it, to bring this here and really do the work here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's what Tantra was designed for, though. I mean, that's the whole intent of Tantra, is to be a practice for this age. So, yeah.
I love the breast massage practices. That's something that I focus on a lot with what I teach people, because just, walking around on the street, I see so many women, especially, just closed off and hiding their chest, hiding their heart. And I think because oftentimes there might be male attention that we feel or we're told that we're attracting by really opening this area of our body. That said, doing that over time for 20 years or whatever or more in our life is just, when I go through like heart massage and breast massage, I feel so much more inspired, so much more alive, so much more empowered in my experience. And I want that. I want that for anyone who wishes it. And it's just so powerful. What's your take on it?
When I first learned about breast massage, I just casually approached it. I thought, oh no, this is kind of cool. I never really thought of doing this type of practice before. So I had no real preconceived notion of what it might offer me. I just started the practice and then learned a little bit more about what the practice was actually doing, which was an opening of the heart chakra and also just a healing of a part of the body that I think for many women, we have a really disconnected relationship with our breasts, because you're right, like the idea of like unwanted attention from men or unsolicited, I guess, attention from men. It may be wanted but unsolicited attention, and the idea that that the times that we tend to touch our breasts are when we're checking to see if they're diseased, if they might kill us, like that relationship to pleasure is almost been lost, or that the pleasure in our breasts is only occurring when somebody else touches them. And so I started the practice without really having a very conscious idea of what I was rewiring inside my body as I started to do it. And I would say it was probably a good month or two of a regular breast massage practice when I started to notice that when I looked in the mirror, I loved what I was seeing. Like, it completely healed my relationship with my body in terms of body shame and body image. Like, I'm not saying that I don't have days where I'm like, well, I could, because there's a habit or a pattern or a cultural like expectation around how bodies should look. But I know when I look in the mirror and I really feel into what I see, I love it. I love every aspect of my body. I love the beauty in my body. I love what my body is capable of. And I know that connection is stronger when I have a regular breast massage practice. And then also just my capacity to feel and to be connected to other people was transformed, and to be compassionate and loving. And so I would say, like, of all the practices that I did in terms of like healing a core wound, breast massage, again, in its simplicity, has been one of the most profound practices for sure.
Yeah, I love that. Exactly, coming into loving our body, because also like, do you practice yoni massage? So like
yeah
so I was practicing that with myself, and I had this insight like a month ago, and I was like, well, how can I expect somebody else to fully love this area of me if I don't even know what it looks like, if I don't even touch myself here? How can I demand that from my partner? So, coming into that love of my body and of my breasts and of just being okay with it and touching myself and giving myself that just even like that oxytocin touch, even beyond the sexual cultivation. Like, we deserve that. We deserve to be loved. We deserve to be enamored with our bodies, because we're living in them every single moment. Yeah, we deserve
I love that so much. And I think, you know, that the idea that we have the power to give ourselves pleasure, is a huge piece, I think, of healing for so many women, because it's always, we put that external to us, or, you know, we shut down our capacity to feel deep, profound pleasure, and to start to awaken that, but to be empowered to awaken it for yourself, so that you recognize that that power is actually completely self-generated. Like, that pleasure is completely self-generated, even when somebody else is, you know, touching you, that the pleasure is still inside of you. It's not, they're not like giving that, you know, they're facilitating your own greatness, your own power in terms of feeling pleasure. That,
Love
you
that.
know, those self pleasure practices is where it begins. It's like, okay, I have the capacity to feel this way, and I'm doing this for myself. And as soon as you take that power back around your pleasure, I think it just opens up a really delicious experience, or opportunity for really delicious experiences, alone and with partners. So.
Fantastic. Yeah. I heard someone say once that we are our own best lovers. And at first I thought, whoa, like what? But yeah, we culturally, or, you know, whatever, I don't know, culturally or not, we give that power to someone else, and we say, no, well, how come you can't please me so well? I need you to give me those epic orgasms, and you can't do it even with my instruction, like what's wrong? And we just spiral down into this disempowerment. It's like, okay, well, I guess I just won't have orgasms. I guess I just want to have pleasure for the next 20 years or whatever. And just taking that back into our own hands, getting to know our body, just allowing ourselves, it's okay to give ourselves pleasure. It's okay to feel pleasure with a partner, with ourselves, whatever, just in any way. It's totally accessible and totally fine, and we deserve it.
Yes. Totally. Yeah.
Talk to me a bit about the desire map. You mentioned you're a desire map facilitator.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Yeah. So the desire map came into my awareness. I was actually, I'm trying to think when this happened. It would have been about a year ago in December. So just before I started training with Layla Martin. And I've been buying all my textbooks for the training course. I've been listening to them on Audible. And so I had listened to everything, and I had this extra Audible credit. And I was like, well, I've heard the desire map is great. So I actually bought the desire map. I put it on, and I remember, no word of a lie, the first minute, I even posted it on Instagram, was like, this woman is speaking to my soul. Like, that there was such a resonance in what she had to offer with this work. And so then I just became hooked, and I went through the process. My partner and I spent the week between Christmas and New Year's going through the desire map and coming up with our core desired feelings. And it just felt like such a rich experience, and such a really profound way to do inquiry work that was soul-centered, and it just was so practical. I always, for me, I believe in magic 100%, but I'm also incredibly connected to practicality and to groundedness. And so this felt like such a really grounding balance to the work that I was doing around sexuality. It was why am I doing it? Well, it makes me feel my core desired feelings. It really allowed me to be connected into the sort of soul truth. And so I never really thought that I would pursue facilitation. And then I just out of the blue one day, I'm like, I'm just going to become a desire map facilitator. And so I actually just signed up to facilitate. And I've only done a couple of workshops, but how I use it more in just in my teaching and my languaging. As I coach my sexuality clients, I utilize the philosophy of the desire map to help people get into their their core desires around like, what is it that you really want, and helping them create goals that are really more connected to feelings rather than like this sort of like external idea of who they think they should be. So it's been really fabulous. And I don't know, you know, where it'll lead or how I'll continue to work with it, but I just really love Danielle and what she's offering the world. And I love the way that she, I just find that her message always grounds me. I spent a week in Palm Springs with Layla, doing like really intense like business building work, and it was like so like expansive and huge and big and intense. And then the next, like at the end of the week, I went and saw Danielle speak, and I was like, okay, I'm on earth again. So it's like, for me, it's like the way I balance out the like intense energy work of the sexuality with something that feels just like home. And I think maybe because I'm in Canada, Danielle's Canadian, and I think it just feels like there's a real sense of home in that work for me.
I love how both of these teachings are just connecting us with our truth, or just connecting us with our desires, like literally just owning that, speaking to that, saying that it's all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's like at the core of it, right? Is that you know, I see, because I'm a mom and my kids are older now, which is great because now I have all this space to do the things that I do. But when my kids were younger, I would spend time going to moms groups or spend a lot of time with other moms with young kids, and how often women put their desires to the side. And it's not like, I think it's important to connect and to commit and to be fully present with your children, but not at the expense of what you desire and your passions and your dreams, right? And I just see so many women just shut themselves down from what they want because they're exhausted and they don't know how to create energy inside their bodies, and they don't know how to feel like to want necessarily, or that, you know, it's just like, motherhood is difficult, absolutely. But I worry for that habit, you know, like when you're in the midst of it, it's really hard to get out of it. But once your kids are older, it's like, now what? You know? And so for me, just offering women permission to want and to desire and to feel again has felt like such a mission for me. So I don't work primarily with mothers. I work with all ages and stages of women, but you know, the women that seem to really connect with my work are women who, you know, whose kids are a little bit older and they want to just start living their lives again. And I'm, you know, able to just say, yes, you can say yes to your desires, and I'm here to support you 100%.
So beautiful. Yeah, I think we get taught so much that to be a good woman, to be a good mom, to be a good wife means that the woman gets put last. And that's good, and that's how we should do it. And if the more we're able to put ourselves last, the better of a mom and a wife and a woman we are. And that's somehow rewarded just in its own way. That's the reward. And so much of the work I do with tapping for women, when it's women that come, a lot of it ends up or starts at that place of, I have desires, but they're secret, and I have my needs, but I'm not giving them to myself. And it's deep to go there.
Yeah. And that's, I think, you know, that's a deep cultural conditioning. And then, you know, just, you know, I recently started working with a client who made a choice, you know, in the middle of, a year of sleeplessness with her firstborn, you know, her second-born child. You know, it's like the kid wouldn't sleep. She was exhausted and made a choice in her life, you know, around a project that wasn't honoring of her true desires. And then, you know, from that point, you could just see an unraveling of her confidence and of her, you know, it's because like, she was just exhausted in that moment, you know? And it's like, we have sort of set it up that like we look after everyone else and not our own exhaustion, not our own needs, not our own, you know, what we need in that moment. Had in that moment there been a different culture that said, you know, you deserve pleasure, you deserve to treat yourself to, you know, a weekend away or whatever, like you deserve these things in the midst of this, maybe she would have felt empowered enough to make a different choice at that time. So, I mean, it's so true. You see like this sort of like the ripple out effect of a culture that doesn't value women taking care of themselves first. You know, you see that in so many areas of women's lives. Absolutely. And I would, you know, it's around boundaries too, right? So I am involved in like, you know, my daughter's dance, and, you know, there's this idea around volunteerism, you know, and I just remember like reading a woman in this group say she had, volunteered 300 hours on a project. And I was like, ask for help. But that was seen as like, wow, that's amazing that you did that. And in my mind, I'm like, this is not okay that women are doing this, that, you know, and maybe it feels good to be in service, but that's a freaking lot of hours over the course of, you know, 6 months to be giving to something that is for somebody else, you know, that isn't your own. Yeah. So yeah, you see it all the time, and that it triggers me to be like, okay, let's teach women to want what they want and to ask for it boldly, and to feel like they deserve it 100%, to take a break, take care of themselves, and nourish their bodies and their minds and their hearts and their souls.
Yeah. That it's okay to be selfish in that way.
Absolutely. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. It's like this oxymoron almost, because the more women claim that power, and it can happen in just that 1 hour a day or whatever, 30 minutes a day, the more they claim that power, the more energized and empowered they are. And usually we're using that energy to give right on back. So it's like this infinite loop of empowerment and giving. And then as soon as that empowerment loop breaks down, yeah, okay, we're still giving, but maybe our health goes, or maybe something else goes. And eventually we're just rock bottom, and it's not pleasant for anybody. So yeah, just getting those wires connected again of, yeah, it feels good to give to myself, and okay, yeah, it'll also come back. So again, like this communication that nature implanted in us of like, go after what feels good, and that's actually okay, and it'll help everybody.
Yeah. And you know, there's so many, you know, our conditioning, our culture just definitely doesn't encourage that, you know, that what feels good and what feels easy mustn't be the right way. It's for some reason we have this belief that we have to work hard in order to have what we want, like work ourselves to the bone to have what we want. And you know, and I distinguish between working hard with passion and working hard, you know, to exhaustion. Like I see there being two different things there, but like that idea that we have to like just basically kill ourselves for our dreams, and that it can't feel good, you know, that, you know, anything worth having shouldn't feel good, you know, like for example, exercise, right? For some reason we feel like exercise should feel crappy, when like, what if exercise felt joyous and pleasurable? Like we would all do it way more, and it can, you know, yet we have this idea that it's got to be some torturous experience in order for it to be effective. And, you know, if we could just flip that switch and be like, pleasure is actually a viable alternative and a path to living that is actually really expansive and really healing, and you know, and actually just so much better for everyone, not just ourselves, but for all of those who are around us. So like, if I don't know, it seems so simple to me.
Simple, you know, and not easy, because somewhere we got tricked into really believing this other way that you're talking about.
Yeah. You know, and maybe that was necessary when, you know, the pioneers came over to North America and had to like survive. But it's not necessary now to, you know, to work 24/7 and, you know, and to give up on our desires, you know, to have all these things that we think we have to have.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes, for sure. Definitely. So tell me, people are on fire from what you're saying. Where can they find you? What can happen together?
Oh, yeah. The best place to find me is my website. It's robinjoy.ca.
And we're going to link all of that.
Awesome. Perfect. And you know, the best way to get started with me is to just book a clarity call and just have a conversation around desire. And then if it's a great match, then we can do some coaching together. And I also have a ton of free content. So I write a blog post every week, and there's a freebie on my website too. So there's lots of little goodies. Instagram, I post lots of little delicious bits of content on Instagram. It's at Robin Hilton Yoga.
Nice. Like, I just feel like all of that is coming from this Shakti passion that's alive and flowing within you. Like, it doesn't sound exhausting when you're talking about, oh, I have all these freebies. Like, yeah, you created them because you love it. That's what I feel from that.
Yeah. I write a lot. I write weekly, and sometimes I create workbooks, and sometimes I do meditations, and it just comes from, and it's funny that you say that Shakti is one of my core desired feelings. It's like, if it's not got Shakti in it, if it doesn't have that organic flow of energy in it, it's not for me.
Yeah. There you go. Just claim that. Like, yeah, that's not for me, and this is, boom.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Robin, it's been so incredible to talk to you. I feel like we could go on and on.
Probably, yeah. Happily, yeah.
Yeah, just thank you so much for being here. Such a juicy conversation. There's so much here for people. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.